Hey there, today we're going to talk a little bit about dyslexia. These are the instructors in this presentation. Did you know that dyslexia is the largest learning disability? That's not any good. We're going to learn some important things about dyslexia in this presentation. We're going to show you some basics of dyslexia and very good teaching methods for dealing with students with dyslexia. We should help turn a challenging situation into a positive one for the teacher and the student. Let's start off logically. Let's define dyslexia. The Dyslexia Handbook from the Texas Education Agency officially defines dyslexia as all the text to the left. Feel free to pause and read it. I'll stick to the highlights. But basically, dyslexia means reading and writing difficulty based off of neurological misfires. That could mean any of the following examples that a student would find difficult: associating sounds with letters and letters with sounds, confusion when pronouncing words and phrases like lawnmower and lawnlower, and the following four areas. This is not an all-inclusive list, but it does cover a large portion of dyslexia examples. Be on the lookout if you're seeing any of these examples while in your classroom. Dyslexia can lead to students in a bad mood because they might not understand why this is happening to them and not their peers. It also helps as a teacher and leads to less moments where you're pulling out your hair. Better for the student, better for the teacher. That's a win-win.
Services for students with dyslexia can be broken into 5 categories of accommodations. First, provide repetition in the form of written directions, visual aids during verbal presentation, and assigning extra practice in needed skill areas. Second, simplify. Complicated instructions take longer to process and lead to confusion. Instead, shorten instructions and break them down into steps for better understanding. Mnemonic devices can also serve this purpose. Third, highlight essential information in notes and reading assignments. Use written cues like stars and asterisks or verbal cues to alert students. Fourth, summarize by using a conclusion at the end of a lesson, word walls, or a glossary of terms. Finally, allow extra time on tests and assignments to lower stress and increase information processing. For more information about these and other techniques for students with dyslexia, parents can access guidance from the U.S. Department of Education or Teaching Strategies for Dyslexics.
Eligibility requirements for dyslexia are decided with a combination of state and federal guidelines. According to the Federal Board of Education, under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, dyslexia is considered a specific learning disability, or SLD. Under IDEA, students must progress through scientific research-based intervention program with little success before they can be evaluated for special education. So schools generally look for characteristic symptoms of dyslexia associated with problems in reading, writing, and mathematics that haven't been resolved after intervention. In addition to the federal regulations that govern the State Board of Education, Texas Education Agency regulates SLDs and specifically dyslexia. In addition to federal regulations, the state has a handbook provided by the Texas Education Agency that regulates dyslexia. The correct answer is false. Like we mentioned earlier, dyslexia does not affect the general intelligence of a person.
Hello again, I hope you enjoyed our brief segment on dyslexia. We're now going to go over a few research-based interventions brought to you by different presenters, as well as a special guest star at the end of the video.
Hi, my name is Courtney Fields, and I'm doing the part of the presentation on direct instruction for dyslexic learners. So direct instruction is a highly structured approach to delivering instruction. It's a method where teachers can provide clear and concise lesson objectives in the classroom. And so one example of giving direct instruction would be what I'm doing right now, where I have a presentation and I'm delivering it to you with specific material. Dyslexic students specifically benefit from direct instruction in things like phonemic awareness or phonics, sounding out words, spelling, and reading comprehension strategies. An example of giving direct instruction for, let's say, phonemic awareness for students with dyslexia would be a teacher can model it first. And so as a teacher, I could say, what is the first sound in the word van? And the first sound in the word van is v, and say that to the class. And then say, what is the last sound in the word hat? And then say, the last sound in the word hat is t. And then the teacher could go further and have the class interact on this round. So then she could say, what is the first sound in the word ring? And then ask the class to answer as a whole, and the class could say, And then what is the last sound in the word pale? And the class could say, oh. And then lastly, she can do a round where it would be individual instruction or individual instruction for the direct instruction. And so that would be where the teacher can still be standing at the front controlling the classroom and ask the class to raise their hand and tell them an example of something in the room that starts with the same sound as purple. And so an example for that would be a student raising their hand and saying pencil, and the teacher can keep going and ask about grape or napkin and have students respond with words that start with a G or N sound. And then another way for a teacher to be effective for dyslexic students is to be a continual learner, and so to be using resources to further their knowledge about how to intervene on problems that students are having. And so one way to do that is with dyslexiamaterials.com. And on this website, as you can see right here, there's some remedial resources that are organized by subject, and then there's also advice for teachers as well as free resources which would have videos or webinars or advice that teachers can go to get some extra support. And then another website for parents would be understood.com, and so teachers can also help out parents by giving them this website, which kind of has how to interact with schools, friends, and then also just things, general family advice with managing everyday challenges that a student with dyslexia might have. Thank you very much. That's my presentation on direct instruction.
Top, then we're engaging that tactile. So when we talk about multisensory instruction, we want all those multiple pathways engaged simultaneously at the same time. Not that we do a visual activity in the morning and we're going to do an auditory activity in the afternoon and then we're going to do some kinesthetic thing. We want all of those pathways engaged simultaneously. So if the student is saying, they're engaging the mouth, we could have them trace it on the table. Is that visual if we have them trace it? If we have them repeat the sound and go, are we engaging the kinesthetic movement of the mouth and the hand? So we've got visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile all at the same time.
Howdy, my name is Ms. Corbell, and today I'm going to be talking about another research-based intervention for early education dyslexia that focuses on phonological awareness with an importance on articulation. To articulate when speaking or reading out loud is to emphasize certain letters or sounds to ensure that the person you are speaking to can understand the word. For example, if I wanted to articulate on the word articulate, I could put an emphasis on the middle T like I did in the previous sentence. The phonological awareness is a student's awareness of the phonological structure or sound structure of a word. This means that a student understands that the sound shun is spelled T-I-O-N and not S-H-U-N as it sounds. A great way to incorporate this into your classroom is through guided practice and fun games. Guided practice could simply be pairing the students up in pairs or looking to you as a teacher when they say words to see how your mouth moves and what letters you articulate in the word. These games could include matching words with similar phonetic sounds or spelling, flashcards with emphasized letters in the words, or word searches. A great teacher resource for these games and other useful information can be found on quia.com. A great parent resource can be found on readingrockets.org. This website has numerous articles on dyslexia and how parents can help their students with their homework and reading outside of the classroom. My reading instructor for one of my courses here at Texas A&M recommended this site to me and all of her classes to help us better understand how to teach reading to children in early education classes, as well as to have as a great resource to look back on and to give the parents of our future students. Thank you so much.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Miss Canyon. And today I want to talk to you about the Orton-Gillingham approach, which is an intervention, research-based intervention for students with dyslexia. So the purpose of this intervention is to increase student competence in reading, writing, and independent learning. This approach is for students and adults of all ages but early intervention is preferred. The setting is one-on-one, group setting, or class-wide instruction, and the focus is on increased sorting, recognizing, and organizing language components. This approach has 3 key components. So the first is differentiated instruction. So many students with dyslexia have other disabilities such as ADD or ADHD. So it's important to make sure that they have instruction focused on those disabilities as well. It's also multisensory, so it focuses on feeling, seeing, hearing, and awareness of motion around them. And there's continuous progress monitoring so that the teacher can give the student feedback. And this can help the teacher build the next lesson. The second component of the Orton-Gillingham approach is direct instruction. So there are 3 aspects to this. The first is the what of learning. So the what would be phonics, so sounds and symbols. The second is the why of learning. So applied linguistics, that would be like the uses of language. And then the third component being the how of learning. And then the how would be like linguistic competence, which is patterns and literacy form. So all 3 of these are tied together when the teacher shows the student the relationship between prior knowledge and the current learning. The final, third step of this approach, which is the most important, is student focus. So it focuses on repetition, step-by-step instruction, and then simple to complex instruction building on prior knowledge. And all of these are within the accommodations that we learned about earlier in this video. There's continuous feedback from the teacher, and then there's positive reinforcement throughout the lesson. And all of these things are really important because they lead to student confidence and they help build that relationship between the teacher and the student. If any teachers are interested in more information about the Orton-Gillingham approach, they can access the Orton-Gillingham website for certification or for news and events.
Your screen, put it on top. You're going to trace it with your fingers 3 times. Ready, go. K, N, O, W, K, N, O, W, no. K, N, O, W, no. Was that 3 times?
Yeah.
Okay. Now put your screen underneath. Take your red crayon, trace it. K, N, O, W, no. K, N, O, W, K, N, O, W, no. Good. Alright. Go to the back. Write the word no 1 time without looking at the top. Red crayon. You like come closer so she can. Good. Alright, share a sentence with me with the word no.
I know my ABCs.
Good. You can stop it.
Howdy, I am Mr. Brunner. I'm going to be talking to you about information communication and technologies, known as ICT for short. And what it is it's a research-based intervention for teachers specifically designed for students with reading disabilities, specifically dyslexia. What it does is it incorporates technology into the classroom in the form of gaming software focused on phonological awareness, kind of correction, I guess. What it is just games that focus on sounds of letters or structure of words, stuff that would help with dyslexia and other reading disabilities. It's similar to the rebranding of Hooked on Phonics from the late 80s, early 90s, and kind of redesigns it and modernizes it to a computer-based or internet-based form of structure. And what it does is it allows students who have the familiarization of using their parents' cell phones as early as the age of 3, and allows to use the classroom's resources such as the computers, tablets, Chromebooks, anything else that the student might have access to, allows them to access these games to help their phonological awareness issues. It's good for the teachers because it gives them immediate feedback whether the student did a good job, did a bad job, still needs to continue, needs to go down a different path, feedback such as that immediately. And it's also an easy and fun for the student. I know when I was younger, if I didn't have to learn or know that I was learning, and if it was a game, that was all the better. So on the above, I'm going to give you a teacher link that future educators can use to incorporate ICTs into their classroom if they have any students with dyslexia. It will take you to some of the games on the website. I'll also go over the structure of where to include them in a schedule. And below, I'm going to use a parent resource. This will go over some of the information of ICTs. Also, it'll provide you why the teachers use it, and it will also allow you to use some of the games at home if you so desire.
Miss Early, and today I will be interviewing my aunt Annie McGrath, who is a special program coordinator specialist out in California. I will also be talking to you about the discrepancy model approach and how it helps children with dyslexia. After interviewing Annie McGrath, the largest struggle for educators is proving that a student does actually have a disability and does have dyslexia, rather than just possibly being slow on that day. The discrepancy approach is designed to prove that they do have a reoccurring issue with reading and that it's not just a need for glasses or anything like that. This approach is preferred because it is individualized to the child rather than a blanket approach that anybody can use and doesn't have really strict guidelines. What they do is they take the child's actual IQ and then from there calculate a range that is an acceptable range for them to be within for that grade level. And from there, if they consistently fall below the range, then it is proved that they have an issue and that they might need some help more than glasses. And a lot of times they use pattern approaches to make sure that it is dyslexia. With that, the drawback is that some districts get to set different guidelines and they do require that it takes the child to be a full year behind their grade level before they can qualify for all services. However, as soon as they qualify, they get access to all services the government and the district provides.
Hi, my name is Annie McGrath and I'm a special education program specialist, and I'm answering a few interview questions today about my job and working with students with dyslexia. What advice would you give to future teachers that may encounter this in their classroom? Well, just like any disability, if you've met one child with dyslexia, you've met one child with dyslexia. So I think my biggest recommendation is just to treat every child as a unique individual, and knowing that they do have this unique way of thinking can help you to a certain extent, and can give you some approaches like Orson Gillingham to help the child with their learning. But at the end of the day, you have to really consider what's important to the family, in their culture, in their religion, in the community, and also just empowering the families and the children, and letting them know that that they could do anything they want. One of my favorite lessons to do is about famous people who have learning disabilities, and it's really a cool lesson to give kids, and they get really amped about it. There's actors, there's professional sports players. I know in the Bay Area where I teach, a big one was Gavin Newsom, who was the San Francisco mayor and has been very open about his struggles with learning disabilities. So I think just letting kids know what works for them and what helps them, and letting them know that they can still succeed.